your machine is evidence in a case against, is sure to be evidence in a case against them. So you need to really consider going into a contract with a company that there's going to be this kind of a bind with. Well, what are the clauses in their contract about transparency? Because they are known to sue. Are they threatening you with lawsuits right now? Is that why you're so afraid? Big billion-dollar lawsuits? They intimidate and they bully. They don't go for transparency. It took Tina Peters to finally come forward with an open book on Dominion, and that's why she's in the situation that she's in. This company is not a company about transparency, and we can't trust anything that they're doing. And you have to pay extra to have transparency. I'm sorry, that should be part of every election process. They have contracts, from my understanding, that are make it proprietary information what's going on inside their machine. And that is why we're in the position we're in right now. And finally, there's somebody who's willing to look inside their machines, allow it. And you guys are willing to go back into a contract with them when there's that kind of bind in our machine. Mesa County machine is the evidence. What fine print is it? Is this contract going to be public so that we can read the fine print? If you go ahead and do this against our will it say that there's exclusions? If there's a court case involving, will Mesa County staff be able to speak openly?
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Moreland.
I'm Jim Hoffman, 70 years old nowadays, and I'm a lifetime resident of Mesa County. As I think all of you up on the guys know, I used to sit up there at one point. Anyway, I came to add my belief to the and thoughts to the information you've already received today. I was aghast last fall when President Trump his election was stolen in the middle of the night by crooked election machines and crooked election practices in several key states. I don't know if you ever noticed, but there was actually, in real time, you could see some votes on some of the computers or on the television screens being switched from Biden to Trump. And this is all courtesy of this Dominion voting machine stuff. As Mr. Pettigrew said a little bit ago, this Dominion machine was developed in Venezuela. And from what I've been able to read, it's owned by a communist China subsidiary at this present time. This thing is poison. We should not tie Mesa County or any other county in the United States to this Dominion machine. The track record of the ability of this to act in a fair and honest and unbiased way was totally destroyed in the 2020 election. And I would add my voice to the people that have testified to you today. Do what's ever necessary, but do not go with a contract with Dominion. I believe that the safest thing to do with the present conditions in voting and the trust and confidence in voting is to go with paper ballots. We used that for years. It's tried and proved. You can go back and count it 1,000,000 times. If trusted people are counting those ballots, it comes out the same every time. And that's what you need to show the constituents and the citizens of Mesa County. So thank you very much for listening to me today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrea Barber. I'm a Fruita resident. What does it mean when you've got a packed house like this? This doesn't happen all the time. I've heard you say that, Cody, before. This certainly doesn't happen when everything's going good, right? That's when this chamber is empty. In fact, You probably rarely hear from people on the good days, but here we are now. On the same note, why is Dominion involved in so many lawsuits now? Why is there so much outcry over this last election? I think these are good questions to consider. You know, this room is full of people who have jobs and lives and all kinds of things we could be doing in the middle of a day, but we're here. People have spoken out all over the country and especially right here in Mesa County. In my perception, when there's a deep division on a topic, a large portion of the population is questioning something, it's because something's not right here. Now, even if every single one of us who testified are completely wrong about Dominion, and I don't think we are still the ones who give our consent to be governed. In fact, I know many of these people, this is what keeps us up at night, is doing the research on these kinds of topics. You know, we chat about these things all day long. We're constantly sharing research with one another and digging deeper into these things while we're cooking dinner and driving our kids to school and doing our full-time jobs. We expect no less of the three of you. I'm here to encourage you to create an actual gold standard in Mesa County and show our Secretary of State what that really looks like, and the rest of the nation. We are a strong and bold people here in Mesa County, and that's what we expect of our leaders now too. I hear from people in positions of leadership that they have to represent all sides. Well, please consider that if there's another side on this, it wasn't important enough for them to show up today. You have the chance to make history here. You were not elected to be placeholders. We the people will no longer tolerate leaders who keep the status quo and give excuses for why they're not willing to represent the people who elected them. We need you to be extraordinary in the face of these trials and decisions. We do not consent to this contract. We consent to paper ballots, and if you must choose a machine to stay in compliance with the SOS, then choose clear ballot. You have the will of the people behind you. We will back you in this, but if you vote to continue this contract, you will betray the trust of all of us and many more who have voted for you. And who knows if we will back you in future decisions. I want to end with Hebrews 12:1-3. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, my name is Michaela Quinn. I was born and raised in Korea. I've lived here for 20 years, skiing my whole life. And I just want to come out here and say that I'm just a little sick of passivity, and this feels like the passive decision to make. I know that you guys were not elected on this board because of passive decisions. Obviously, you're here for a reason, and so thank you for your service to our community. But I just want to say, as a fairly new voter, it's extremely discouraging that we're even considering this as an option, knowing how fraudulent it's been and how much of an issue it's been, that there's lawsuits over this and that we're even considering this. It's extremely disappointing and discouraging, and I can only imagine how discouraging it is for other people my age. You know, I think I'm probably one of the younger people in here, so just coming from this perspective to you, and I don't know if you guys have families, and I hope you do, but I just want you to think about that and just, wow. Honestly, like, that would just be, yeah, I can't imagine your guys' position in this, and just want to say that you have options. You know, this is not the only option to go with, so please do not feel like this is the only way. Yeah, I just want to strongly encourage you that look at other things. This would be the easy decision, but you know, you're not required to make this decision. You have the option, so please make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn.
Good job.
Hello, Dusty Higgins, member of Grand Junction community for a couple years now. I just want to say that with the conflicts of interest that every single person has stepped up here and pointed out to you guys, I don't know how this is even an option. With the conflicts of interest that are going on throughout the country that each state and stuff are bringing up, you guys might not have followed it, you guys might not agree with it, but you can agree that there are some conflicts of interest that you guys are overlooking by just trying to decide to do this. Like the young lady just said, there are other options. You saw by the hands that went up, we are willing to count paper ballots in order to make sure that this is legal and done correctly. to be even considering bringing Dominion back in with everything that they have put into the news and the organization. This is on you guys. We have our trust in everything, and you're voted into those positions. You guys took oaths to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's the same oath I took when I joined the military. And I'm here to tell you, it's getting to where we don't trust you guys anymore. What you guys are putting through to even consider this, to even put it onto consideration, is a slap in every single one of these people's faces. We have all seen the evidence. We all are willing to stand up here and put our reputations and stuff on the line to say we believe it was stolen. And it wasn't stolen by a bunch of people behind the scenes. It was stolen by Dominion servers connected to the internet that changed votes. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly suggest you take the time to look at it instead of just voting on this. We have an instance in Mesa County where the clerk is going into an investigation with Dominion servers. If that's not a conflict of interest right now, you guys might want to open up and read the definition of conflict of interest. This is not going to stand. Not one person in this audience is going to forget what you guys vote on. Either way, we won't forget that you stood up for the voting rights of everybody, or we won't forget that you trashed them. And this right now, bringing in Dominion servers, I guarantee you, we are going to have more and more outcry and outreach, and more people like this. And I haven't been here since the beginning, but I haven't seen one pro-Dominion server person stand up here and defend their right to be in here. This is the public hearing where you hear from the public. If there ain't nobody coming up to defend them, you better listen to the rest of the public, because we're here taking our time out of our day on a Tuesday to come in here and give our opinions on this. At 1 o'clock, when most of us should be at work. Awfully convenient that this was at 1 o'clock, when this was a major thing that most people would want to be here for. And I guarantee if you would have put this on after hours, after 6:30 when people get off, we'd be here until midnight. And I think that's what you guys were trying to avoid by doing it at 1 o'clock. So I think, maybe start realizing that we're standing here and we're standing as a team, and we're not going to just be quiet about it. So thanks.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Madam Chair, Greg Heights, Mesa County. It's good to see you all. Thanks for all the work you're doing. I think it's pretty obvious from the comments that I just don't think we can sign this thing. I think we've got plenty of time to wrangle with the troops. I can get 100 people by tomorrow to count ballots. I know we can get people in the room to do that. It just feels like the optics isn't good on this. We're at the tip of the spear right now. Mesa County is everywhere. And regardless of what we think of Dominion, I've got information here on questions that really need to be answered. Would you be willing to put in a voting system that contains a recent model Wi-Fi card? For example, they've got the Intel 802.11. If you thought that there was a voting system server maintained a Wi-Fi card, would you suspect that it could connect to the internet? We've been doing some research into that. I think there is some suspicion there. There's communication going on between Secretary of State and our Dominion machines here. I just think it's the wrong time to put machines back into place. I know we've got the other options on the machines. I think we should just wait on that. I think we should just get through this upcoming election, let the dust settle. I think we can count those votes by hand, all volunteer. I know we've got probably 100 people here that will volunteer. I think that's just the right thing to do right now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Merriman. I live in Grand Junction. And Janet, FYI, I'm Leslie's mom. So hi, nice to meet you. Anyway, this will be very short. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just wanted to say, first of all, I agree with everything that's been said. And I'm seeing a little picture. And last night I was at a meeting, and at that meeting I heard someone say that Mesa County is at the tip of the spear. So the three of you are literally at the tip of the spear. And I am asking that through prayer and surrendering to God, that you would hit the bullseye for righteousness. Thank you.
speak either until I came in the back and wrote yes on the sign-in paper. But I hope that you weren't surprised by the number of people that showed up today, that this has been a topic and it's not being ignored. Dominion is like a bad word, except it's not 4 letters. We are not sheeple in this community. This is the reason why we're, at least for now, known as a red county with the representative Lauren Bogart, which is being challenged. But I wanted to go back where you said there were 62 Dominion machines being used right now, and they're running under the old program. I feel like when I heard Tina Peters was under investigation that the Great Reset had come to our county in effect to try and change it from a red to a very blue state. And you start by coming after our local government and our voters, and by creating this distrust of bringing in a Dominion. I think it's really going to bring the focus onto us, because we won't be quiet if it does go through with this contract. I'm wondering if Mesa County is the first one to be offered a free Dominion install. If there are 62 others that are still running under the same program, how soon will those go down and then be offered a free one to change the software or a way to manipulate the vote? And I think it's coincidental that in 2 years there'll be a vote for another president, and it would be convenient to get this red county changed over in time to be able to manipulate votes, possibly, with a new program that would throw an election. And I just hope that you vote nay. That's how I would like you to. I voted for every one of you. When you were up for election, I spoke to you personally, voted by phone. You reassured me that you were going to be able to represent us and not be influenced by those in higher government. You are representing us, the people of Mesa County. We live and work here. I remember you, Scott, when you were at the post office in Glenwood. You may not remember me, but we go back to, so I've got the gray hair. I don't know what happened to yours. But, and Janet, I used to deliver mail to you across the counter at the post office, where you would come and pick up the mail for the office. So I'm familiar. I'm a longtime resident, Mesa County. I forgot to put that in, but I strongly encourage you to do what's right, to take note of the people in this building, this room. No one has spoke for Dominion. You can go another 2 years and use paper ballots if need be. We're not afraid of work. We're not afraid of getting the truth out. So I hope you take this into consideration when you go forward with this contract.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott.
And not go forward.
Good afternoon, my name is Margie Stolley. I live in Fruta, and I echo the voices of each person here. There's a lot of distrust, and you folks hold the key. So I just want to pray a prayer over you from the book of Ephesians. I'd like to pray it over everyone here as well. For this reason, Father God, we stand before you, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name. We pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. I know you guys are going to do the right thing. I have the faith to believe that you will. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darlene Lineberger, spelled L-E-I-N-B-E-R-G-E-R, and I'm a lifetime resident of Mesa County. I have seen the ups and downs of Mesa County, and I have to say right now, I'm really disappointed in a lot of things that I'm hearing. I support everything that everybody has said here. I would like just to do a short reminder that you started this meeting in prayer, and you said one nation under God. My mama always told me, baby girl, when you have some tough decisions in front of you to make, always make sure that your integrity stands high. I've done that. I've even traveled the road less traveled and walked it alone. And I have no regrets of the decisions that I've made. When money is involved, the root of all evil is money. I think everybody in this room would be willing to do the right thing and go to paper ballots and get rid of this devilish dominion machine that is taking over this country. I just pray that you all make the right decision, and I believe you will. Thank you for my time.
Have you guys, I wanted to give you some information. Have you guys seen the Seth Peschel map that out of like three counties that, in Colorado that we're one of them that's red? Okay, so there hasn't been a lot of defense.
Ma'am,
Yeah, first we need you to stand up in the lectern
There hasn't
and
been a lot of.
stand up in the, I'm sorry, we just need to get it all on record, okay? If you just stand at the microphone and state your name.
Yeah, anti-shoe.
Thank you.
Yeah, there hasn't been much defense that's come out on the other side. And I've even heard that like one of the commissioners hadn't even listened to frankspeech.com. So I would urge you, this is what Colorado Representative Ron Hanks said in defense of all of these things, the fraud, if you will. And if you haven't read it, then please get educated. You know, your citizens deserve it here. You need to get educated because there's a whole other side, and if you were even considering Dominion, you would have seen a lot of it. So, let's see, I got off of, I just wanted to thank you guys. I know you're busy, but I really want to thank you for pushing back against Gina Griswold. I mean, that was great. Unfortunately, what you decided after that, oh my goodness. So, and then I guess I have to say, well, I don't know what keeps you up at night or wakes you up in the middle of the night for hours where you're trying to grasp something. But what I want to do is 5 years from now, 3 years from now, 1 year from now, if you sign this contract, is that going to wake you up that you did the wrong thing, that you didn't represent your citizens here, and that you've allowed a cheating company to come in and steal our votes? And you've heard some of these descriptions. So I just want you to think about what that's going to feel like if you knew you sold out your children and these citizens. And I know you guys are honorable people. I think you just don't. And as I say, get educated on the other side. There's huge amounts of evidence. It's just there's huge forces against us and all of us in lies. So, I mean, you know, we have no media. They don't report anything on our side. You know that. You know that when you go out there and say something, it doesn't get quoted, right? And that's what's happening here. So at least here's a little information that's come out from our Colorado representative. Did anybody go over to the Arizona audit to have a feel of what was really going on? Anyways, so let's see, how am I doing on time? Running out of time. Okay, so I'd say there's a couple of options. Tina, Frank's speech said clear ballot's good. Another one is hand count. Kevin McCarney said 100 people, 2 hours, the school board election. So just temporarily. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joan Hoffman, and I live in Grand Junction. After listening to everyone speak today, I just had a couple thoughts. I wanted to let you know that I'm a member of the class action lawsuit against Dominion that has been filed by an attorney in Denver. It's still ongoing. I was thinking maybe from your perspective and what you've said to us in other meetings is that we may not know what the truth is. We may be assuming we know what the truth is. But I'm also a mother, and I think that qualifies me to give you some motherly advice. Truth and consequences. If you don't know the truth, it's difficult to predict or know what consequences may occur. But I do see in this document that if you do vote to implement the contract with Dominion, you're going to give us 8 years of consequences that doesn't appear that people want. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. Is there any other public comment? I have, looks like a couple from the Zoom. One is from Michelle Rapolgi. She lives in Mesa County. According to the U.S. Election Assistance Commission Voting System Guidelines 2.0, a fundamental accreditation requirement for electronic election equipment is that it is at all times air-gapped from other networks, and it disallows the use of wireless technologies. Would you want a voting system that contains a recent model Wi-Fi card, for example, an Intel 802, 0.11 AX Wi-Fi 6? If you thought that a voting system server contained a Wi-Fi card, would you suspect that it could connect to the internet or other wireless system? If you thought that a voting system server's Wi-Fi card was able to operate without causing CISA's Albert sensor system to send an alert, would you want that equipment? If you thought that a voting system server has a SLQ server that can be accessed without going through operating system and not being detected, would you want that equipment? If you thought that a voting system server could communicate with software vendor to seek and receive an updated licensing certificate, would you conclude that it was connectable to the internet or otherwise wireless system? If the Secretary of State's trusted build correspondent stated that it was installing LibreOffice software onto a voting system server, and you learned that the software is open source software that is very susceptible to hacking, would you want that voting equipment? She goes on to say, if you knew that the voting server system servers, the repository for that case ballot images and adjudication files, would you permit updates to the server without full knowledge of your own designated election officer? Before committing a large sum of taxpayer money to a purchase or lease of voting equipment, are you willing to demand an unequivocal representation that the system is not connected nor connectable to the internet or any other wireless network or system? Before committing a large sum of taxpayer money to a purchase or lease of voting equipment, are you willing to demand the representations from the vendor the equipment does not contain these features? Commissioners, I would like to, this is from Karen Siebel. Commissioners, I would like to know if you were given the option to recertify the machine since it was the Secretary of State that certified. And I'm only reading ones where people actually put their name in here. So if, let's see, sorry, Karen Siebold, since the Secretary of State decertified them, is there an option at lesser cost to recertify? And I mentioned earlier, in keeping with the others that have spoken, spending a little more upfront to get Dominion out is a better choice. I understand that there is concern about potential Dominion retaliating with a lawsuit. The only one that violated the machines, a forensic image doesn't enter in the machine in any way. Basically, only the Secretary of State has violated the machines, of which we still do not know what took place, what was removed. Slow down, get through this. And then someone from Delta County. So, are there any more comments from the audience in the room? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment portion of this hearing and bring it back to the commissioners for comment. Who would like to go first?
Well, wow, lots of input. Thanks all of you we have heard lots of input from lots of people, and it's not all one-sided. Not at all. And, you got also, I apologize. Okay, so, like all of you, I do want to let you know that we've heard from a lot of different people. Now, combined now with, we've been, just in the last couple of days, we're now hearing from doctors and nurses, and in fact, they were all, a bunch of them were out near where I live. So, mandated viruses, we're hearing a lot about COVID. We got a lot of things that seem to happen, and somebody said to me, several people said, wow, I feel so bad for you, you must be exhausted. So, no, and some of you mentioned it, that's why we're here. We were elected to manage this operation. And frankly, when things go right, you get a little bored. Generally, things don't always go right. We have 1,200 employees. I say we, it's your operation as well. And as the 3 commissioners, we are charged with everything from budgeting, all these kind of things, whether it's your sheriff's department, whether it's your Department of Health, whether it's your Department of Human Services, 300 and some employees out there, your landfill operation. And somebody said in their thing, I want to know what keeps you up at night. I'll tell you what keeps me up at night, and combined with the question I've got here from Dan Sherbert, and I may have I was trying to write names as fast as I could, so if I mispronounce them, I apologize. What motivates you? You bet there's nights, and when we had the virus and things, what motivated us, motivated me, is maybe waking up hoping that one of the grocery stores didn't close and create a panic, that the landfill operates, et cetera, et cetera. This keeps me up too. I wonder about this, what's the right way to go, and when I say that, I'm sure my 2 colleagues do. We want to, as I said earlier, this investigation rests with the district attorney's office. But I'll tell you what kept me up the last couple of weeks. Tina's hiding, that's by her own admission. Where's Tina? I'm not an expert in these computers. I'm not an expert in where the ballot thing goes and so on. But the fact is, for legitimate reasons perhaps, and I believe that maybe she has gotten threats. That's not uncommon in politics. And by the way, we'll provide security. We have security provided for all of us today. We'd be happy to provide security and so on and so forth. But that kind of leaves us with a charge. Hey, they dropped on us. Secretary of State, somebody said, did you have an option? I think that Seabold, I think, said, Mrs. Seabold and Miss Seabold. Don't want to get in trouble on the pronoun or whatever. But at any rate, asked, did we have an option on decertifying? We didn't have any option at all. We didn't know anything about any of this until probably you did, when somebody called up and said, hey, there's a conspiracy operation. That's how they call it. Now, conspiracy deal that on their national website said your passwords have been stolen. And that's when we found out anything about this. I was not expecting, and I stayed up late tonight, I was not expecting Tina to be absent. I was not expecting the Secretary of State to come in. I didn't know she could, but I didn't expect her to come in and decertify machines. So to answer your question, there were a lot of things, and we're learning like you're learning. Now, I don't know how many of you researched Clear Ballot, and somebody said today they went through contracts and I've got the name here, so I'm not trying to be rude. No, there's somebody said we had 3 different contracts, or they didn't get the contract, they had to go somewhere else. So the question was, do we always have to consider 3 contractors? Well, we consider as many as we can, but in this case, we have 2 choices. 2, that's it, not 3, 2. We have to make a choice. It's just a second, I'll address that, speaking.
Sorry, what's the question? Can you, I'm not asking for questions, can you not hear him? Was that the problem? Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so yeah, we're going to address the vapor ballot, and I actually think there's an opportunity for, we do, and when I say be a lot of, I think we speak pretty much the same, but yeah, I think it'd be great if we do the computer count and then do a hand vote. By the way, hand ballots, consistently, you can ask any clerk you like, Democrat, Republican, computer counts consistently outperform the hand ballot counts. But I know you're shaking your head.
Nope.
But the reality of it is, I don't object. I'm not going to do this right because it takes lots of resources, lots of coordination. But the way about. That's why the monitor, that's why we proposed, put a monitor on it. People say, well, this is all secret, we can't do our own audit. No, you can. We want to make it as easy as we can for people to come in and take a look at it. But we can't tie, by the way, in our clerk's office right now, the elections process, we did not remove Tina from anything. Tina is your clerk. Only you can remove Tina except for extraordinary circumstances, and I can't even tell you what they are. I think it's conviction or I don't know, whatever. But you're the ones removed. She was removed by the Secretary of State, who has the statutory authority to do it just over elections. What's kept me up in the last 2 weeks? Man, okay, we got the elections problem, but how's our morale over there? What's happening with our license plates? What's happening with our property people? We got people that were sent home. I'm going to work from home because the office was whatever. So those kind of things we want, those do keep us up. That's a long-winded question. Answer, but that's an important thing. It does. Let me say that one of the questions, and it came from, Dan Hancock. And then what would it take to win the contract? Money. You get the contract with money. And I know somebody else said, we filed, maybe I'll get to that name, but the comment was something religious, which I respect, and honor this and honor that, but I think the previous person before that said, we break the contracts. Contracts are going on. That's not my moral fiber. We've got an agreement. We need to look at that agreement just a second. An agreement. And these are some of the questions that I'm trying to answer. And so I don't just willy-nilly walk away from contracts, but we do look at the contracts. So, Madam Chair, look, I don't remember, except when I'm pointing the word, interrupting anybody. I'm just asking, give me the same respect. I respect all of you. And I'm trying to answer your questions. So somewhere in here, and I wish I could name, what would Tina do? When we had the discussion, that's a great question. When Tina came to us about a month or two ago and proposed to move from Dominion to Clear Ballot, this was not because Dominion was crooked. I don't recall that was at all an issue brought up by Tina. Tina's drive to leave Dominion was that we could save more money, or they felt that Clear Ballot may be a better option. So at that time, Tina would have stayed with Dominion or preferred that we go to Clear Ballot based purely on economics. And that wasn't very long ago. That was about a month ago. I'll also tell you, what would Tina do? When we were asked, we had to put a mentor in place a couple of years ago for the election. I was here then. And then we picked the mentor. Secretary of State ordered the mentor. We picked the mentor. Tina was very adamant and very strong in her recommendation that Wayne Williams be the monitor. She's thought very highly of Wayne Williams. I don't know what's happened in the last few days, but just so you know, that was what Tina would have done then. By the way, when the monitor came in, they found Tina did a good job. And in fact, the issue here is not whether or not the 2000 election was invalid here in Mesa County. Tina was given awards for that. The mentor said she did a great job on it. The Secretary of State in her actions said that the turnout or the votes, or whether there was fraud in the 2000 election in Mesa County, not nationwide, but in Mesa County, was not the issue. The issue was there improper access on the computer? So, and I think, I'm trying to think what else with Tina. But let me go on just for a couple other things. Threaten us with lawsuits. Someone mentioned, are we intimidated by being threatened with lawsuits? In this business, you get threatened with lawsuits all the time. I've been sued probably more than half of you combined. When I was had the privilege of serving in the United States Congress, we were sued daily. primarily by federal inmates and people like that. I didn't see the lawsuits, we got suits often, but I think it's an error to say that because somebody like Dominion or somebody has a lawsuit against them, that that perception should rule. That's not fair, because just because somebody gets a lawsuit, just because there are allegations out there, and I think we can remember what I think was Rutgers with the famous case where the person was accused of rape. We can remember the bakery where they accused him of being biased and they broke that bakery, and it was based all on perception. I'm just asking here, we really are putting a lot of time trying to figure out, well, we're not the investigators, but who would best serve the people that we serve, and who's going to make sure, who can we be sure that we're going to be able, because this election coming up is going to be the most scrutinized election probably in recent Mesa County history. We wanted to go very smooth. We wanted a clerk. This was dropped on us by the Secretary of State. We don't decertify the machines. She decertifies the machines. They said to us, we don't set our deadlines. They set them, and they said, like it or not, here's where you are. You better have it by August 30th. That's your deadline. And as Commissioner Davis said, you've got your September 3rd deadline. So that's reality. We have got to have something in place. And we're done about the ballots, paper ballot. We'll go real quick here. So, the gentleman, and unfortunately, I was writing so fast I missed the name, and some gentleman said conflicts of interest, they don't trust us anymore. Wow, and then finish that sentence, we've seen all the evidence. I haven't seen all the evidence. And if you've seen all the evidence, you must have access to the district attorney's office and things like that. We gotta let that run its course. And then I think it's important for me too, that I don't change the evidence based on my opinion.
So don't vote on anything you don't have evidence on.
See how it falls. I think that was important to address. I'm about finished, just trying to answer these questions. Lois Becker last night at the fire that involved, I guess, computers or something. I'm not aware of any of our computers being stored. I'm not aware of any Secretary of State or things like that. I don't know where that gets started, but and I do want to say that I have, I think Wayne Williams has been mentioned a couple times, and in error, I will tell you that Chris Frazier, Chris said Wayne Williams was the pick by the Secretary of State. That is not correct. The Secretary of State recommended Sheila right here. Sheila's our treasurer. Sheila was a former clerk. She has an excellent reputation. And so the Secretary of State picked Sheila. We were the ones that recommended Wayne Williams. Now, in a very positive result, I think, for all of us in doing what we all want to have done, an election that's timely and run legally and run effectively, the two of them are working as a team. We think we do have a good team in place that's going to be transparent and ready to go forward with that. So, Madam Chair, I think at this point, I've answered as many questions as I tried to write as we went through that. Thank you.
Again, thanks everybody for coming. Joe, thanks for being here. Appreciate you serving me. And congratulations on starting your business. Best of luck to you. I hear you. I feel you. I feel your emotion. I've tried to engage as best I can with all the information that you guys have given me. Not only do I have a full-time job doing other stuff, but I've taken the last couple of weeks and engaged full-time almost in this, the information you guys have sent me. I don't want you guys to think that it has gone and fallen upon deaf ears. I've engaged with many of you on a personal level, gone out to coffee, you've come to meetings with me, and I continue to offer that. If you want to sit down with me, I will have a conversation with you. I think this type of conversation isn't wholly productive, because you get 3 minutes, and we strike you down when you get out of line. So I don't know that it's wholly productive, but I'm always open. You guys have my cell phone and posted online. You have my email address. You're always welcome to send me a book. and I'll do my best to read it. I don't always respond to everything because I get the news, but I want you guys to know that offer still stands. At the end of the day, if anything goes wrong this fall, it's on me, regardless of what decisions made today. It's on me, and ultimately, I'm the one that's going to stand for that. If things go right, you know what? That goes on us too. We take credit for those things. At no point will I blame any of you for pressuring me into a decision. At no point will I blame Dominion for pressuring me into a decision. Got notes everywhere. So I am committed to a couple of the following things. Well, let me ask you a question first of all. How many of you guys would like to see an audit of the 2020 election? I figured you guys would probably support some type of audit of the 2020 election. I know you're saying forensic. Correct. How many of you guys would like to see us run all the ballots from 2020 through a clear ballot machine, just to balance against a Dominion machine? And I think these are options that we can do. We have access to clear ballot machines that we can run this stuff to. To me, this is more than just about the savings. Now, I think it's, you know,
There's no.
let me finish. I never heard a lot about, it's not about the savings, it's not about the savings. And I labored over the decision we kind of are making today as to whether Dominion or clear ballots. And in fact, some of you have actually told this to me. But with clear ballot, we would have spent, obviously, today, we would have spent nearly $500,000 getting clear ballot on the ground. And if we had gone that route, I'm sure many of you would be screaming at me saying, no, paper ballots only, we don't need to waste this money. So I think it's fair to say that at the end of the day, all you guys want is paper ballots at this point. Correct.
That's right.
And I hear you, and I want to do a paper ballot this fall, in addition to a machine counting.
No,
I think we need
no.
to do both. There's no loss at that point if we do that.
No Dominion.
With all the respect in the world, I look you right in the eyes and I listen to you. I didn't interrupt you once. Please give me the respect that I gave you. This is my thoughts on all of this. I listen to yours. You're welcome to share with me in the hallway or at a later date. There are people that do not trust hand counts. I know you guys trust hand counts. I'm not saying you don't trust hand counts. There are people who've reached out to me and said they wholly do not trust hand counts. I get that. I understand that. Historically, hand counts are not real accurate. When I was running for commissioner at the assembly, we had to count it a couple times. I think they had to count Janet's 3 or 4 times because they couldn't get the same response. So I think they are not extremely accurate, but I think paired together with a machine, we can get everybody comfortable. I know a hand count only makes you guys comfortable. There are those out there that want a machine count because they don't trust a hand count. Why not do them both? Make everybody in the valley comfortable, not just you guys. I think that is a fair compromise. Very well.
Catastrophic.
As far as fraud, I appreciate what Corey Anderson is doing with the election integrity, because I think he's going after the root of where fraud exists, and that's before it ever reaches the Dominion machine. So phantom ballots, you name it, ballots that shouldn't be sent in, things like that. That's where the majority of your fraud can and will happen, and he's taking that one head on, but it's before it ever hits Dominion machine. So that's why I want to balance the Dominion machine results against hand counts and clear ballot. And I don't think there's a good argument against doing that. Those are my thoughts of this, and I'll add more to that.
I have some comments to make, but I want to go through and make sure we answered all the questions. I think it was Joseph Eflin who talked about not making a quick decision based on on money, and I will just add, this decision for me is not based on money. I shared the dollar amounts with you just to clarify rumors that I had been hearing, that it would be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for us to replace the Dominion equipment. And I just wanted to share that that in fact is not the case. And I wouldn't mind spending $500,000 if I felt that it would make our elections safer. On the question of the machines and were they in the fire, all of these machines have been locked up. Half of them approximately are still in the elections area, locked up, to which no one currently has access. And the other equipment is secured in evidence room as collected by the district attorney. Shelley Lucas talked about her mother-in-law in the nursing home, or her mom in the nursing home with dementia, and that staff helped her vote rather than letting her, and what was described is unacceptable, but has nothing to do with Dominion. Questions about pulling a fast one, if the machines are decertified, what makes these new ones better? These machines were decertified not because they were found to have a modem, but because the cameras were turned off and they were compromised. The tamper evidence tape was tampered with, and that's why they were decertified. Joe Jarvis mentioned that we voted Tina Peterson as clerk. We did. I voted for her. And you know how her votes were tabulated? With Dominion machines. Timing is suspicious. Secretary of State decertified the machines after the passwords had been shared online. That's why we're in this 11th-hour moment. I would ask if Tina had the information in June, which she did, why did she wait until August? If she had shared this in June, instead of waiting for the cyber conference, we wouldn't be in this rush. Also mentioned a full chain of custody, and that was lost when Tina ordered the cameras to be turned off and the tamper evidence seal was broken. That's when our full chain of custody was lost. Comments about Wayne Williams representing Dominion is a blatant lie. It's a lack of regard for the truth. He represents Runbeck, which has nothing to do with Dominion. Runbeck prints the ballots. And it was at Tina's request we contracted with Runbeck to print the ballots 5 weeks ago in this very room. Will the contract be made public? It's pretty thick. I believe there's 10 copies in the back that are printed, and it's online as well. You can take a look at that. Someone mentioned, you mentioned Ron Hank's press release. When the second sentence in his press release is a blatant lie, I have no regard for the rest of it. He states that there were no search warrants ever provided. There were by the district attorney. I saw them with my own eyes. There is an inventory of what was removed by the district attorney. Ron Hanks in his campaign website talks about his support of the sheriff and district attorneys, and yet he didn't bother to contact our sheriff and district attorney before making these ridiculous allegations and unfounded. Someone asked about why do we even need the new machines? Is it just punishment for Mesa County? I'm just gonna be honest. And you know, I voted for Tina, I supported Tina even through the recall attempt. But if a Democrat clerk had shut off the cameras before bringing in an unauthorized person, not only would you demand the machines be thrown out, you would demand the clerk's resignation. And that's just the God's truth. There was no reason to turn off the cameras. Tina's office was not raided. As I mentioned, there was a search warrant. I think Commissioner McInnes talked about the bid process, and there's only two vendors authorized by the state, and so that's why we did it. Talked about the timeline. And Tina has actually talked to us about getting out of the Dominion contract before this and switching over to Clear About it. I was very much looking forward to hearing that conversation. Ironically, we had a briefing scheduled with Tina Monday on the 16th, but she left town and sent no one in her place to meet with us. El Paso County continues to use Dominion, and their clerk tabulated votes with both Dominion and Clear Ballot machines, and there were 9 votes difference, and he attributed those 9 votes because of the pixelization in the printing of those ballots. Dominion, I've heard a lot of people say they feel or they believe that Dominion machines or software are fixed and easily manipulated and have access to the internet.
But we have to make our decision based on facts and not feelings. I asked Tina Peters to share with me
tell us that.
documentations of facts that prove the elections in Mesa County were compromised, and so far she has provided me none. There was a screenshot that's very hard to see that's referred to as missing logs, and I'll talk about the missing logs in just a minute. I've heard they have access to Wi-Fi. I've seen no evidence of that. But here are the facts about Dominion, Colorado. What I'm about to share with you is testimony provided by Wayne Williams when he testified before the Legislative Audit Committee in December of 2020 about the election processes used in Colorado. These are two excerpts from his testimony. First, the voter verifiable paper ballots. Beginning under Secretary of State Scott Gessler, and by the way, Scott Gessler is Tina's attorney currently in this situation. This started when he was Secretary of State, went through an exhaustive process to select the best voting system standards for our citizens, obtaining input from election workers, voters, and individuals with disabilities. Scott Gessler's Uniform Voting System Advisory Committee narrowed the list of voting systems down to 4 vendors. Again, this is Wayne. He says, when I became secretary, I made the decision to pilot these 4 systems in the 2015 coordinated election, with each system being piloted in 2 counties. He had a pilot election review committee to assess the 4 systems. Its members included former EAC commissioner, who was also the former Colorado Secretary of State, and the former clerk for Arapahoe and Bent counties, Donetta Davidson, Weld County Commissioner, who was also a former clerk, Steve Marino, and the El Paso County Clerk and former Colorado Republican Vice Chairman, Chuck Browerman. From that group, Dominion Voting Systems was the top-rated systems. He goes on to say, ultimately, I adopted system standards which any vendor could attempt to meet. These standards were adopted through formal rulemaking process, reviewed by the legislators, and held up by 2 different courts. The standards we adopted provided for paper ballots for every voter. We've had paper ballots in Mesa County since 2013. The standards were adopted, even those who use an assistive device. So every voter has the opportunity to verify their actual ballot. So when you go and use the machines in the vote center, it will print out a receipt and show you how your ballot was cast. We then worked with the clerks and commissioners across the state to fund the new system. So while other states struggled, Colorado has already adopted these protection of voter verified paper ballots. Dominion was the first company to produce a certified voting system that met these standards. Eventually, a second company, Clear Ballot, produced a certified system that also met our standards. The second point is about the audited machines and results. Dominion machines have been tested in 62 counties at least 868 times. They passed every test. First, each county in each election has a bipartisan board to test the voting system prior to using it. That's 455 pre-election logic and accuracy tests, and Dominion passed all 455. Second, in 2017, Colorado began conducting a risk-limiting audit after each election. In a risk-limiting audit, bipartisan teams of judges in each county compared the cast vote record with Dominion scanners to randomly selected paper ballots. In the 7 elections since Colorado began this, the Dominion voting system has passed 413 of 413 times. Colorado's tabulation systems must be air-gapped from the internet and other computers and use standards I adopted. Even the thumb drives used to obtain the reports from the machines must be pristine. Keep in mind, this is a quote from his testimony in December of last year. So short of breaking into a secure locked room that is video monitored, there is no way to change the programming of the machine during the election. So while I can't speak for the practices of every state, some of whom don't have the procedural protections and audits we do in Colorado, I can state that in Colorado, the voting systems we use accurately record the votes of Coloradans, and we proved it with respect to Dominion 868 times. And a final point on Dominion, as you might have heard, remember the Dominion tabulation system in Georgia showed very close race between Biden and Trump. And so they hand counted every ballot in the state for the presidential race.
The differential of the audits, as they reported, results from the original machine count were well within the expected margin of human error that occurs when counting ballots, which is 2%. Most counties found no change at all in the final tally. I've seen the results myself of the hand count and how it compares to the original count by the Dominion machines in Georgia. Of the 5 million voters statewide, it narrowed the margin down from 12,780 to 12,284. That's 0.0099% change when doing a hand recount compared to the Dominion results. We've talked about the voter participation records, talked about that yesterday, I won't go into that again. The missing logs, this seems to be the smoking gun that we've heard about, these missing logs. I received some information from Judd Choate. Judd Choate is the election directors for Colorado. He's worked for the last 4 Secretary of States, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, including Scott Gessler, who is Tina's attorney. And he explained that the electronic files and physical files that a county has after an election include things such as cast vote record, candidate vote total summary, the ballot manifest, the ballot images, the security videos, the ballot box and machine chain of custody logs. None of these are captured, nor do any of these files live on the Dominion software or voting system. None of them. And every one of these files are or should be kept for 25 months under Colorado law by the clerk. So whatever was allegedly removed, this is his quote, from Mesa County's machines, the clerk should have had these preserved for review should someone request them. If they're not available, that's a question for Tina. None of the files that I just mentioned are in the voting system software at all. So therefore, none of them could have been deleted, changed, altered, corrupted when the Secretary of State's team updated the voting system software. And again, this is information received from the head of elections for the state of Colorado, who worked under Scott Gessler, who is now Tina's attorney. As I mentioned, the facts about the paper ballots, we've been using them since 2013. Talked about that they're required for ADA. We can never go back to not having those machines at the vote centers because they're required for the Americans with Disability Act. So in conclusion, how can we be sure our vote will count in 2021? In addition to the vote tabulation through our machines that we're contracting with today, we'll do a recount using clear ballots. We'll add the feature of all ballot images being scanned and posted online. That's part of the agreement today. You all can see every ballot cast and count them yourselves. And then as Commissioner Davis mentioned, a hand recount. And how can we be sure votes were accurately counted in 2020? We can easily go back and recount them with clear ballot, which is a system many of you seemed interested in. We can do that. And I just want to add that just because we don't come to the same conclusion doesn't mean we aren't listening to you. Just means I'm also looking at other facts, many of the facts that I just shared. We have to take those into consideration. So unless there's any more comments from either of you, I would entertain a motion. Sure.
Just to wrap up a couple of comments. So this is a request of you. In my opinion, Tina could be a big help to us. And Tina could help us a lot run the operations that she was elected to run in that clerk's office. And again, the majority of those operations, now we're rudderless down there, by the way. The majority of those operations have nothing to do with elections. So yes, the Secretary of State, through her statutory power, has removed her. We have a good team in place. We think we can get a handle on the elections. But we need help on the day-to-day operations. Not until 2 days ago, through a third person, did Tina communicate with us, and most of it was of biblical terms, whatever that I read in there, how to follow, and so on and so forth. But she has not reached out. She's in hiding by her own admission. We will, so what I'm asking you, somebody out here, the way some of you talked, I'm assuming that you probably have communication with Tina. So if you do, or you know somebody that does, I'm asking you, call Tina, tell her to come out of hiding, to come home, and reassure her, and we've got Sheriff's Department people, we promised, we need to put security for her in her office. We'll provide security. We provide security in a lot of different cases when we have a dignitary that comes in here or things like that. We want to make sure we take the threats against her very, very seriously. We want to make sure she's protected. But she needs to come back to work. We've got a lot of things going on right now, and so do you. We're all scared about this COVID, the debates on this and that. We're short of people, just like most of you that are employers. We're short of people. We're running into shortages on groceries. We're running into shortages on fuel, things like that. We have a lot of things to balance. It helps us a lot if the people that were elected to do their office were doing here, running the operation. And I'm proud to say that during the shutdown, I think every elected official and almost all our supervisors were on the job. We didn't have them doing remote and so on. So I'm asking you that, number one. Number two, I will tell you that some of the people that feel like you do have objected to Wayne and have asked Belinda that Belinda should be the person. I want you to know, Belinda has been disqualified. She's a person of interest in the investigation. She too was removed by the Secretary of State on the election side. And I do also represent Hanks. Take a look at the background. First
Can
of all,
we vote?
Very noticeable to me. So I've got a little experience in the State House. I was the majority leader. When I was the majority leader, I used to caution our members, don't go into somebody else's district unless it's a courtesy. You call the local state representatives, state senators. You know, they take care of their side of the fence, you take care of theirs, and at least give them the courtesy to let you know you're coming in. I don't know when Hanks was here, but he's been in office less than a year, maybe he hasn't learned the courtesy, but I didn't see any of our state representatives. Some of you referred to him as our state representative. He's not our state representative. He's in Colorado Springs. And in one of the press releases, he's criticizing us for using Wayne Williams so far away in Colorado Springs. His district's about height that used to be my congressional district. That's where he comes from. And then yesterday I looked about Mr. Representative Hanks as a courtesy, and I respected all my colleagues because of their position. But he's got his own dust up with his clerk. He won't even call his clerk. His clerk says, I've asked him to come over and sit down. He's questioning all these things. He's going out making all these speeches. He's not showing up. My only point is, let's hear from our state representatives. Let's hear from our state senator. So it's just a little, it lacks a little credibility. I mean, that somebody from over there comes over here to tell us how to steer the ship. Anyway, thank you, Madam Chair. And I also want to thank, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your patience. One person said, oh my gosh, you must have timed this intentionally for 1 o'clock. Try timing this for 6 o'clock. People call and say, you knew this was my family time, and you did it on purpose, and this is when I get off for dinner. So, look, we tried to do the best we can. We wanted to hear from every one of you. We weren't rushed today, and we even took Google or whatever, Zoom, excuse me, Zoom. So thank all of you for being very patient. And we have an open door. We can't possibly answer all the emails that are coming in. By the way, most of the emails I'm getting and that represent your point of view are not from Mesa County. Most of them are from out of this county, and many of them are from out of this state. And yesterday I had somebody that wrote a very blistering email to all of us and said, how dare you, you need to fire Wayne Williams as the clerk. I go, he's not the clerk. He's not the clerk. As I read on furthermore, what disgrace you bring to Maricopa County in Arizona. I'm never elected to this county, and you need to immediately resign from Maricopa, and you deserted the resident I'm going. And then a lot of these that are coming from out of state are the same thing. And I see Congress all the time. So I want to read the local ones. That's why, Madam Chair, we ask that you be from Mesa County. So we really hear from the people that we serve. We care about what you're doing. And again, we're not tired of this. This is what you call us to do. We get bored when things go right. When things go wrong, we're charged with fixing them. And that's what we're trying to do. Thank you for being Madam Chair.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the item as entered into the record.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We
have no other items on our agenda for today, so this meeting is adjourned.
None of our voices were heard. There was 3 representatives for Dominion, and they all sat in those seats. Don't forget it when it's time to vote. Vote them out. Absolutely garbage.
What's your take on today, ma'am? Do you feel disappointed?
Of course.
Is your voice being heard today? So how are you feeling today about the decisions of Mesa County? So what you expected? Do you still trust them? No.
Very good. Have a good day.
Hey, hello. How are you feeling today? Not good. Do you still trust your Mesa County Clerk Recorder? Mesa County Commissioners? Do you still trust your Mesa County Commissioners?
No.
You don't?
No, I'm not going to vote for them at all. No.
Sir, how are you today? How are you feeling? Do you feel disappointed?
I feel
Very disappointed. Do you think do you feel like your voice or your vote is going to matter again?
Yeah, my vote will matter.
Will your vote matter again if we allow Dominion machines come into our community? Yeah. Thank you for being here today. I know. How are you feeling? Do you still trust your Mesa County Commissioners?
What I missed in saying was, I used to trust them. When they don't educate themselves enough to know the other side of the story, then, I don't trust them anymore.
You don't trust.
We've got the fox in the hen house.
Yeah.
So,
Hey ladies, how are you? How are you feeling today with the decisions of 3 of our Mesa County Commissioners deciding going with Dominion machines? How are you taking this?
I am really, really disappointed.
Do you still trust your Mesa County Commissioners?
Very disappointed with the county commissioners.
Would you still vote for them?
I would not.
You will not vote for them.
Definitely will not vote for any of them. As soon as the Guinness is out, he's gone.
It's gone.
The other 2 are out, they're gone.
Beautiful.
They don't represent us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to still bring you the voices of the people. People really feel betrayed today, and they don't think that their voices really matters. And I'm going to look for this. I'm sorry. I have a couple questions for you guys. Do you mind? I have a couple questions for you guys. I don't want to be in there. So we have people that are watching, and people really are upset. How do you feel about the decisions of today?
We had to base our decisions on the facts. I don't have time to go through all those facts again. I can share with you my notes that spell out how the Dominion machines were selected in the first place, the process that it went through years, and piloting the different options all across the state. There's just a lot of facts to support that Dominion are safe machines, and there were no facts presented to show anything different than there were. I hear people think that they're attached to Wi-Fi, but I've seen no evidence of it.
Do you trust the people you represent?
Do I trust the people I represent?
Yes.
In what way?
That are kind of people who makes research, and a kind of people who are informed, and a kind of people who really follows what goes on in their community.
And I do the same, right? I trust people. That doesn't mean they have all the facts.
But from the sounds of it, the entire room, I have not heard any one of them that really was in support for the Dominion machines.
So there are roughly 104,000 voters in Mesa County. I believe last election we had about 97,000 people voted. And while 100 plus people came today to share concerns about Dominion, it means the other 104,000, right, 999, that they are okay with it. They come here to complain about it. They're comfortable with it. I've
But
talked to people outside of this hearing and asked if they had concerns about Dominion. I looked at reasonable people that are Republican, Democrat,
exception of one, they all said, I'm fine with it. I don't believe that our system is great here in Mesa County, and I'm comfortable with the machine.
Well, I guess you had a decision to make, and that's the decision you made. And with any decision that comes, it comes with consequences. So I pray that the truth will come out. And now, with regards to Tina Peters, when a county recorder clerk is out, her deputy is supposed to take over. Why do you think her deputy was asked to excuse herself?
Well, she was removed along with Tina and one other staff of the elections team were removed from having any contact with any of the elections process by the Secretary of State. So therefore, Belinda couldn't have overseen the elections because she wasn't allowed to be involved in the elections.
Would you still be open if tomorrow comes and Tina Peters comes with the evidence that supports her decision?
Yes, I would love to see evidence.
Will there be any reverse in some of the actions that are being made today?
Show me evidence that our machines were tampered with. Yes, but I've asked her for that.
Okay.
She hasn't provided it. Sending me links to videos of a 3-day conference isn't evidence. I need to see documentation that you can access the internet from our machines.
And now, because this is very important to us, the people of Mesa County, if something comes tomorrow, and Peter comes with evidence and everything, I'm going to ask this again, and I've asked it, will you reconsider some of the decisions or this vote you have voted today?
Of course, if there's evidence that the machines are corrupt, absolutely. I just haven't seen it. And I don't understand why Tina turned the cameras off to you.
I
Concern you that she turned the cameras off when they're kept on 24/7, 365?
there's a question to be asked about that. There is a question to be asked about that, but you know how much forces that she's really fighting against, and so but
Forces against her when she turned the cameras
my prayer will be that the truth will come to the end. And does the Secretary of State has the power to come and fire people as she did? And
fire anyone. She just said you can't be involved.
so, what's your power as our Mesa County Commissioner with regards to Tina Peters?
We have no authority over Tina Peters at all other than her budget and contracts
Okay.
such as this one.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for your time, and I'm gonna ask you guys who are watching, keep praying. We're asking for the truth to come out, and the word has been given to me that if the truth comes out and there is some evidence that proceeds to favor the actions of Tina Peters, some things will change. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
China says dominion. And below that, then he also has a picture of a little lady.
Sorry, guys, I'm still asking questions about Mesa County Commissioners with regards to the questions, to the decisions that have been made today. I know you guys, you're all upset. I am upset. But decisions had to be made today. And I want to hear what is the reason behind the decisions that have been made tonight. So I want to have a chance to talk to Mr. Cody Davis and hear what he has to say with regards to his decision tonight. Because I know a lot of you guys, you are upset, and you have the right to be upset. I know many of you guys, you've made research about Dominion, and many questions have not really been answered. So I'm going to see if I can have a chance to talk to Mr. Cody and get to hear what he has to say with regards to this.
So many things, but so you're saying what happened in Georgia where you've got, Republicans in charge of things? I don't know. There's a lot of
Ma'am.
things, if you look at everything.
May I ask Mr. Cody a couple questions quick here before we are live right now online? May I, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Cody. You are live on Stand for the Constitution. Mr. Cody, most people today are disappointed in you. I know for the Dominion decision, they are very disappointed, and I am one of those people. I won't hide it. What do you have to say to the people of the Mesa County with regards to this decision?
Like I said today, we are going to do a hand count this fall with Dominion, so people should have no fear in their elections this fall. We're going to take control of it, and we're going to make sure that people have trust in it. I know people aren't crazy about this decision, but it was kind of forced upon us with the timing and such.
So people are asking that there could be some influence, outside influences that are kind of might have influenced your decision, like pressure from the state of Secretary of State.
Well, as you can see, we don't respond kindly to pressure from Secretary of State.
Sure.
Back against us. So
okay.
Again, no pressure on either side affected my decision today. I made my decision with all the information in hand, and I'm more than welcome to sit down with anybody and go over that information. I feel good about my decision, and at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to live with that decision, nobody else. And
again, another question I have to ask again: do you trust the Dominion machines?
Yes.
Do you believe that there was some fraud?
I should say this: if there's fraud, it's going to happen before the Dominion machine, and everybody has proven that. There's, in my estimation, there's speculation that the votes were changed. We'll go back and recount those. I don't think there's any votes that were changed in that Dominion machine. I really don't. I haven't seen any evidence that points to that. There's a lot of rampant speculation, and I've looked into all of that, and I've given it my best and my honest take on it, and I don't think it's there. So,
do you think something weird really happened with regards to 2020 elections?
What do you mean?
With regards to 2020 elections that have
weird happened?
Yeah, something like fraud. That do you believe that
fraud happened? It happened before Dominion, and I'm committed to rooting that fraud out. And we are, and we're going to go through. We're going to scrub our rolls. We don't want phantom voters. We don't want people who don't live here voting, and that's where fraud exists if it does exist.
So what do you have in place to make sure that those things that happened back in 2020 do not happen again?
As far as before Dominion?
Yeah. Well, Dominion was involved in all of this.
Dominion just tabulates the vote.
But there is resources out there that Dominion switches votes, and there's some of the videos we've seen that really shows all of this. Would you be open if a group of people have, bring to you some of the research they have made with regards to the integrity of our election in our country?
100%.
And if there is evidence that comes out that these things happens with regards to Dominion, would you have a chance to change some of the decisions that have been made tonight?
100%. I'm completely open-minded about this. But today, I mean, you look at Georgia, they're all Dominion. And they went back and they hand counted every single county, every single town, city, the entire state. And that hand count came within 500 or 600 votes out of 5 million. Well within that's less than 0.001%. And so what do people say about that?
Well, there is a lot of other news that we've read that some of the people that are in authority have been denied to spin up people that have been involved in this kind of fraudulent elections. So for me, when I read those kind of news, it shows that there is some higher power that are kind of involved in this. And many people like me and so many others are really concerned because they see these things all over the place. There is handprints all over the place.
And that's why we're going to hand count this fall as well. So have no fear. Election's going to go off without a hitch, and I think you're going to feel confident. And we need you to get out and vote. So we've kind of got to get past what's happened in the past, in 2020, and we've got to move forward and make sure our elections are secure.
I'm afraid to say that the damage has been made. And I pray, it's in my prayer I am praying that people will have a chance to speak to you and ask more questions like I'm doing. And I'm hoping that the people that are watching right now to make sure that they get to hear your heart in this. Because from what I've gathered is people have lost trust in Dominion. And I don't know what you're going to give them. I don't know what you're going to say. But Dominion, their faith in Dominion has evaporated. And I pray so hard that you will still be the person to represent us in this community. But today, I'll tell you, my heart is hard.
I hear you with us. I appreciate your honesty. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Hello. Yeah. Hey guys, sometimes we got to ask really hard questions because, our votes matters a lot. And that's one reason as to why I come to places like this to ask questions and find out what's really going on in our community. And I know you guys were disappointed, and I'm gonna still talk to more people here and find out their takes with regards to this. Do they still trust their representatives? It's hard. Hello, how are you? I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. I've been in there talking to our Mesa County Commissioners. What is your take on today's decision? It's a terrible decision. But they're for really sure that the decision they have made is the right decision, and that they will guarantee that we will hand count everything that goes through the machines. Do you think things can be switched within the Dominion machines once people vote?
I don't know. I think the hand count is going to be imperative because people's faith has been absolutely rattled.
Could you still give another chance to our commissioners to really give them a chance to explain their decision tonight? Do you still trust them?
I will always be open to listening to people, and I would wait maybe for an absolute final opinion about that until after. If there's more explaining to me, I would be willing to listen to it. But I think communication goes both directions. When you've got a room full of people that have bothered to come and spend this much time, it's clearly important to the people of Mesa County. So, I believe that I think you need to do more than listen.
Yeah.
I think you need to hear them.
So do you think your voices have not been heard tonight?
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like this. Why so?
You'd have to ask them.
I hear you.
I don't want to answer for someone
I
else.
hear you. I hear you.
Everybody has reasons, and oftentimes there are things that we just don't know anything about.
Do you think they are pressured to enter into this decision today?
I know that state government can deliver pressure.
Well, I would ask you to keep praying.
Incredibly important to keep our autonomy of our county.
I'd ask you to keep praying for them. Will you pray for them?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Mom, how are you feeling tonight? I know you went up there and you spoke from your heart. You know, you weren't planning to speak. What does this mean to you?
Well, freedom.
Freedom.
I'm older. I'm really in this right now for my kids and grandkids. And great-grandkids.
Yeah.
My kids. I'm sad to see all the things that have happened. I'm certainly a lover of Donald Trump. And I'm sorry that things are like this.
Yeah.
So change, but we were kind of lazy when he was in office.
Yeah.
That we should have been doing what we're doing now then.
So what do you think of today? What happened today?
Well, I'm kind of new at this, so I think it's kind of.
Would you give them a chance to listen to them and hear them out?
Well, yeah, sure.
But it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. Wow. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we understand for the constitution. May I ask you a couple questions? I saw you, Andrea, going up there, and you spoke with a lot of passion. Tell me how you're feeling today with regards to these decisions.
Feeling frustrated.
Yeah.
I think we're just ready for leaders to people,
Yeah.
like I said in my speech, just
Yeah.
no more status quo. And we're waiting for people to do something that's unexpected. Not just for the sake of doing something unexpected,
Yeah.
but because it's necessary right now, like I said, for people to step up.
Right.
And
Would
it
you?
feels like they just had their minds made up before the meeting.
Yeah. Do you think? Were you heard? Do you think? Were you heard?
I believe I was heard because I heard some of my words spoken back to me from the
Yeah.
commissioners, but
Yeah.
I don't think it matters, and that's what's frustrating.
So did you think that the decision was already made?
Yes.
Would you commit to pray for them still?
Oh, absolutely.
would you still be open to listen to hear their side of the story?
Yes.
Beautiful. So you're gonna have to look for us, Mesa County Commissioners, and explain to the people. Hello. May I ask you a couple questions? Thank you for being here today. Why are you here today?
I'm here because I wanted my voice to be heard.
Do you think your voice has been heard today?
No.
No.
They had it made up before.
How do you feel?
I feel like freedom of speech doesn't hurt.
Doesn't matter anymore. That's very sad to see. Are you still committed to really give your commissioner, Mesa County Commissioner, another chance and have them pray for them? I mean,
of course I will pray
yeah,
for them,
yeah.
and I would be willing to have an open conversation, but they had their minds made up already, and they're saying some things that are fact that are not fact.
Yeah.
And some of the things specifically, like saying again that the machines aren't connected to the internet.
They are, but
So that basis of their whole argument
it's not true.
is not true. So unfortunately,
What would you ask them to do?
to tell the truth. We just want.
So do you think they know the truth?
I think that they should get looking if they don't know the truth. Because there's facts saying
There's
that
facts.
they are connected to the internet, and if they're going to base their whole argument on that they're not, then their argument.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your opinion. And guys, everybody has an opinion, and that's what Mesa County community here. That's how they feel. They feel betrayed. They feel like their voices have not been heard. I feel the same. But guess what? The fight is not yet over. We will still fight for our freedoms. We will still stand for what is true. If those we vote in don't represent us, we will find those who will represent us. And that is my words. We love you guys. Thank you for following us here at Stand for the Constitution. God bless you. And bye-bye. Thank you. Yeah.